What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Got something pretty special today, which is two different penny stocks. One of them is Lucan, the other is Jones Soda, and we'll be talking about why I am going to introduce a bottled soda company and also this really weird Chinese autonomous driving company as well. And both these stocks recently has taken somewhat of a hit. Jones Soda has somewhat stabilized at 60 cents per share to 70 cents per share because of good revenue earnings. But these guys recently has hit $3.86, and there has been a pretty decent massive drop and have been hovering at roughly $1.55. After hours looks pretty clean for this company, so we could be seeing another pretty decent rise up because these guys are doing some pretty big things. But keep in mind that penny stocks are extremely volatile, and I do not own any of these penny stocks, and this video is for entertainment purposes only. And we got some pretty interesting news for both of these corporations. So first things first, let's look at LKCO. It's in the top left-hand corner. This is a ticker, and Lucan essentially is one of the global leading big data processing technology companies. They're trying to make different softwares. They're trying to get into like different maps, 2D and 3D internet maps, real-time trajectory, etc. So it's kind of like one of those companies that is somewhat focused on the world of autonomous driving, and they also have been diluting their shares, trying to get as much capital as possible, and they will essentially be using a lot of this capital to get the company up and rolling once again. And recently they did announce this Ford contract, and it's pretty big, and it will be providing HD map service for Ford China's autonomous driving project. And Ford is still a pretty big guy in the autonomous driving industry, so obviously they will be using Lucan technology for quite some time, because recently Lucan also has acquired eMapGo Technologies, which just really made them like a pretty decent corporation. Now, a lot of this news was a while back, and a lot of people aren't really looking at the stock, but these guys used to be like $10 a share until they recently became like a penny stock, going to a low price of 34 cents. Recently they did go up because there has been some activity with the overall company. The volume looks a little bit suspicious since it did go all the way up. You got this massive green candle. This is when you know that it's time to leave the stock, when you see a green candle like this. And obviously afterwards the stock has been going down ever since, but it could be seeing consolidation around $1.55. I feel like if the stock goes below $1.35, that's a massive resistance point, and that's simply not good for the company. Now, so far, Lucan is doing some pretty big things. I mean, the CTO has 15 years of experience in leading big data analytic companies, work for like Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. You also have Geely. If you guys don't know what this Chinese car company is, they essentially own Volvo and also Lotus, and are the manufacturer of the black cabs in London. And guess what? Geely is actually heavily invested in Lucan, and their CEO is an independent director of Lucan. That is pretty big, especially when you have one of the biggest car manufacturing companies in the world and they own Volvo, and the CEO is one of your directors and you are a tiny penny stock. That looks pretty good. So they might be getting some sort of pretty good contract from Geely, and that is something that I want to talk about. I think of all the pieces of news that really did astonish me was the CEO of Geely is one of the directors for LKCO. If it wasn't for this, I wouldn't even be recommending the stock because of their leadership positions and so many higher up people in this penny stock company. It makes it seem pretty attractive. Next up is going to be Jones Soda. Now, hear me out here. I know a lot of you guys are probably complaining, why would you ever introduce a bottled soda company? Well, recently these guys did go from 13 cents to 78 cents per share. There's a lot of volume, a lot of interest, and over the past several months, Jones Soda has always had very good volume. Lots of ups and downs for the company, but recently volume has been increasing because the revenue is going back up. Mark Murray actually joined the company earlier this year as an advisor. Because he was doing such a good job, he was eventually promoted to president in September before being named the CEO of Jones Soda in December. The company also said that Murray actually helped create a really good turnaround, and the company finally achieved a 17% year-over-year third quarter revenue increase, better profit margins, and this is after 6 consecutive quarters of the revenue going down, which is pretty lousy for a company. And then suddenly you got this guy who came along, helped out the company, and you finally broke the consecutive quarterly loss and even getting double-digit percentage growths and really just breaking that really big curse. And Mark Murray is extremely experienced, and previously he was the president of Meijer, which is essentially a $10.7 billion chain of grocery stores. And Jones Soda is a market cap of $14 billion. So I think he's like super overqualified to be the CEO of Jones Soda. But if you have such a good experience with Meijer, which is like a multi-billion-dollar company, and you actually made the company have a lot of money, and then suddenly you go to this really small company, and now Jones Soda is making a lot of company, I feel like leadership is a pretty big deal. A lot of these penny stocks, the reason why they never really did so hot is because they have pretty lousy leadership. And a 17% year-over-year increase in the revenue, that just simply sounds very, very appealing. And the third quarter rebound was extremely big. This is why the share prices have been going up. And Heavily RX, which is this like cannabis company or hemp CBD, whatever you want to call it, they have actually announced a year ago or maybe 2 years ago about a pretty big investment in Jones Soda, and they may even consider buying more. In 2019, Heavily RX, a CBD portfolio company of cannabis investments, essentially was like, you know what, we kind of like this company, invested $9 million to buy 15 million shares of Jones Soda. And Heavily RX actually owns 25% of the company. They also gotten a bunch of warrants to acquire an additional 15 million shares at an exercise price of 78 cents, will give it an additional 20% stake in the company. Now, the only way that Heavily RX will ever exercise those options and purchase the stock at 78 cents per share is if the share prices go up to 80, 90, even $1. And then they will exercise those warrants and they will purchase even more shares. And what happens when you purchase like 15 million more shares of the company and own another 20%? Share price is going to explode. So this is a very unique situation that we have here with Jones Soda, because if the share price is actually consolidated 80 or 90 cents, we could be seeing Heavily RX exercising their warrants and purchasing millions and millions of shares more of Jones Soda at 78 cents per share. And this is another 20% increase in the stake of the company, which would definitely explode the stock in open. Heavily RX could actually potentially boost its share in Jones Soda to 51% and just essentially take control of the overall company, and that is pretty big. So we have this really odd situation here with Jones Soda. This, I can't really say it's a short squeeze, but as long as the share price actually stays above maybe 80 cents, we could be seeing them exercising those warrants, purchasing more shares, and stock price will go up. And you know what happens when they purchase a bunch of shares? It's going to gain a lot of attention, and share prices will definitely go up. And so these two penny stocks are honestly pretty unique. It's really up to you to decide. I feel like Jones Soda is a lot more simple business, and the consolidation has been around this region for quite some time. Who knows, we could be seeing like a sudden buyout of the company, and eventually the share prices will absolutely explode to the moon. But this is definitely something for a person that wants to have some sort of risk. And a lot of these penny stocks, remember, they're very dangerous investments. They're not safe investments. And once again, I do not own any shares. It's for entertainment purposes only. If you guys want to check them out, you kind of have to check them out on Charles Schwab, E-Trade, or Thinkorswim, because Robinhood and Webull does not support penny stock trading on the OTC, which is a little bit unfortunate since there's a lot of really cool companies on the OTC. That's about it, guys. Thanks for watching.